Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, I want to show my mid-test assignment. Before that, let me introduce myself. My name is Raihana Safira. I'm from R4I class and my NPM 201912500919. I took the narrative text material from senior high school. Enjoy the video! Okay, and this is our table of content. The first, there is definition of the text. The second, the types of narrative text. The third, characteristic of narrative text. Fourth, structure of narrative text. And the last, the text. Okay, definition of narrative text. Narrative text is a type of text in English to tell a story that has a chronological sequence of events that are interconnected. The purpose of this text is to entertain the reader about a story. And the target audience for narrative text is different. If the target for children under 5 to elementary school, usually the story will have positive values that can be learned. And if the target audience is adolescents and adults, the story tends to be longer and more complex. Next, the types. Narrative text can be imaginary or factual. Here is an example of a genre from narrative text. The first, fairy tale. Folklore or children's story in which it contains an element of magic or impossibility to the characters of the story and at the end of contains a moral message. Second, romance. The love story emphasizes the theme of the story, what is the struggle to get love for the main character. The third, horror. Horror is a genre where the story is synonymous with the supernatural and also mystical. Fourth, fable. Fable is stories that tell about animals. Fifth, myth. These stories or myths have developed a lot in society and are generally considered to be factual stories or actually happened. And the last, history. History is an imaginary story written with historical figures or settings that actually happen. And next, the characteristic. The first, specific character. In narrative text, the author will create a specific character as the main character in the story. Second, past tense. Because writing in narrative text is a function or imagination, therefore the more commonly used grammar is past tense. The third, time conjunction and adverb of time. In narrative text is written chronologically based on time. Server time conjunction is needed as a link for time, such as when, before, after, and others. Meanwhile, the adverb of time is shown for the time when an event occurs. For example, once upon a time, one day, and others. And the last, action verb. Action verb are one characteristic to keep in mind. This action verb is a verb that shows an action by a character. And next, narrative text structure. The structure of the narrative text focuses on a series of stages that are proposed to build a text on its own. In general, there are 4 stages in narrative text, namely, first, orientation. Orientation, or so-called introduction, contains about who, when, where a story is set. Second, complication. Complication tells the beginning of the problem that causes the peak of the problem or what is commonly known as the climax. This section usually involves the main character of the story. Third, resolution. This section is the end of the story or in the form of a solution to the problem that occurred. Problems can be solved, can be for better or even worse, which will make the story end happily or vice versa. And the last, reorientation. The part is the closing of story, which is optional. Reorientation can contain moral lesson, suggestion, or teachings from the author. And this is the text. Keeping skin healthy and beautiful. Do not need expensive. Numerous ladies are willing to do anything to get solid and excellent skin. Not occasionally, they are upbeat to pay enormous to keep her skin sound and wonderful. This part is orientation, or we can call as introduction of the text. And next, this sensation can be found in ladies today. They invest more energy in spots of excellence for magnificence tend to stay conscious. Squeeze ourselves had been the way of lady. However, remember, don't do something unreasonable in light of the fact that it was bad and precluded by religion. This part is complication. This is the beginning of the problem, or commonly known as the climax. Next, to restore instinctive nature for solid and wonderful skin doesn't need to oblige a hook charge, but rather there is way simpler, less expensive, and obviously sound. Here are a few privileged insights to keep your skin sound and wonderful. First, a general shower with shower. Second, utilization cleanser as indicated by skin sort. Third, wear sunscreen when outside. Fourth, savoring water adequate amounts. And the last, eat more vegetables and natural products. This part is resolution. This is the end of the story or the solution to the problem that occurred. Next, well-being is the most imperative thing for us, particularly for ladies who need a solid and lovely skin ought to continue eating and living, not hard and don't have to spend a great deal of cash to have a sound and lovely skin. Just by drinking lots of water and eating vegetables and organic products. Accordingly, how about we apply solid life for themselves and their families, for a sound life is everybody's fantasy. This part is reorientation. This part, the closing, can contain moral lessons or suggestion. Okay, I think enough from me. I hope you can understand what I say about this material. And last, thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.